They have been neighbors living right across from each other for decades, yet they have never exchanged a single word. But suddenly one day, the woman knocks on her neighbor's door. When she asks a shocking question, the neighbor is completely stunned.
Would you be interested in coming to my house sometime to sleep with me? Louis, it's not about sex. Lying down in bed together and talking through the night until we fall asleep, that kind of thing.
Addie, just like Louis, lost her spouse early on, and her children settled in another city after starting their own families. The loneliness of her twilight years terrifies Addie, leading her to this idea. She has no other intentions. She simply hopes they can lie in bed together and chat, becoming soulmates to get through the long nights. Faced with this direct and awkward invitation, Louis doesn't know how to respond at first. But seeing the loneliness in Addie's eyes, a solitude identical to his own, he cannot bring himself to refuse, and vaguely says he will consider it. However, Louis suffers from insomnia that night, as Addie's words keep him conflicted until dawn. The next afternoon, Louis goes to the town pub to gather with his old friends as usual. But there, he receives news that one of his old friends passed away the previous night. The passing of peers around him makes Louis suddenly realize the terror of old age, knowing his remaining time is numbered. He is determined not to end his life in an unnoticed corner like his old friend. So, after thinking it over repeatedly, Louis decides to call Addie. He tells Addie that he is willing to give it a try and sets the time for 9 p.m. the next evening. The appointed night arrives on schedule. Louis brushes his teeth early, changes into a handsome shirt, and packs his shoes and pajamas into a bag. But when he steps out, he is still dodgy and secretive, terrified that the neighbors might see his unusual behavior. When he arrives at Addie's house, he doesn't dare to use the front door, choosing the hidden back door instead. Addie has clearly been waiting for a long time. She pours the red wine she prepared and takes the initiative to start a conversation. But the conversation remains on the surface level. Aside from neighborhood trivia, they only talk about the recent weather, avoiding their pasts and inner loneliness. To break the silence, Addie suggests giving Louis a tour of the house. Louis follows behind her, seeing the signs of life everywhere in the room, and suddenly feels that this house is much warmer than his own empty home. Later, when they change into pajamas and lie in bed, both of them appear somewhat reserved. It feels as if there is an invisible boundary in the middle of the mattress, and neither of them crosses it. Addie speaks first to say goodnight, and they tacitly fall asleep on their respective sides. They don't talk much that night, but they sleep exceptionally peacefully, as it is the first time in many years that they feel another person's presence beside them. With this little secret from the night before, Louis's life has a brand new sense of hope. He no longer shuts himself in his woodshop to kill time like before, but frequently looks toward Addie's house, eagerly waiting for dark. Finally enduring until evening, Louis carries his bag and knocks on Addie's back door again. Since Louis didn't leave his pajamas behind last night, Addie thought he wouldn't come over tonight. Obviously, Addie wants to continue this special relationship. Louis can't help but ask why she chose him. Addie's reason is simple. She thinks Louis is not only handsome, but also a good man. Her direct compliment makes both of them laugh, and the previous awkwardness vanishes completely. Likewise, in Louis's heart, Addie has always been a free-spirited and elegant woman. They begin to feel curious about each other's pasts and even chat about their childhoods. On the third night, Louis knocks on the back door again, but Addie doesn't open the door as usual. Instead, she pulls the curtains from inside the house. Louis freezes for a moment, then immediately understands her meaning and has to enter through the front door. It is on this night that Louis opens his heart to someone for the first time, talking about the past event that has made him feel guilty for half his life. It turns out that when he was young, Louis taught at a middle school. Because he had a huge fight with his wife during a certain period and was feeling low, he accidentally received comfort from a female teacher, and they gradually developed feelings for each other. In pursuit of the perfect love in his heart, he decisively abandoned his wife and daughter to live with the other woman. It wasn't until a few weeks later that he realized his mistake and ultimately chose to return to his wife and daughter. But his actions caused his wife to suffer from depression and had a severe impact on his daughter, who still cannot let it go. Whenever he thinks of that past event, Louis feels extremely guilty.
Don't be so hard on yourself, Louis. You did the right thing. You're a good man.
Addie's comforting words act like a warm current, instantly melting Louis's heart that has been frozen for years. Their feelings for each other also quietly heat up at this moment. But news in a small town always travels fast. Their affair becomes the talk of the town. Those old friends even tease Louis about his vigor, asking for his secret to staying young. but coming from old men, these words carry a tinge of sour sarcasm. Feeling awkward, Louis has to pay the bill and hurriedly leave this place of gossip. In contrast, Addie is much more composed. She actively shares this secret with her best friend Ruth and constantly praises Louis's various virtues. That night, Louis tells Addie about what happened at the pub. He still cares a lot about how others see him, but Addie thinks he should face it calmly. People will find out sooner or later, so they might as well admit it openly. Addie's optimism and straightforwardness act like a beam of light, illuminating the gloom in Louis's heart. He begins to gaze at Addie's every move with tender eyes, silently confirming in his heart that this is the person he wants to spend his twilight years with.
Have lunch? Just take our time and enjoy ourselves?
On Sunday, Addie specifically puts on a bright red coat. Although people whisper behind their backs, she still generously links arms with Louis. They cast aside all worldly constraints, proving with their actions that even the elderly have the right to free love. But sweet times are always short-lived. Just as they are immersed in the beauty of their twilight romance, Addie's son, Gene, suddenly returns home with her grandson, Jamie. Gene's face is full of exhaustion. He tells Addie that he has problems at work, and his wife has quarreled with him and returned to her parents' home. He really has no time to take care of Jamie, so he can only entrust the child to his mother temporarily until school starts in September. However, this unexpected little guest disrupts the rhythm of Addie and Louis's life. The nights they agreed to spend together are forced to stop because Jamie is afraid to sleep alone. Addie has to take Jamie to her room, and Louis doesn't come over that night. Because his parents are usually busy with work, Jamie, lacking companionship, is always immersed in online games. Seeing Addie's distress, Louis doesn't complain, but actively offers to help her take care of Jamie. He digs out a train model from a long time ago from his house. This is the toy he bought for his daughter back then. Jamie, who was originally addicted to online games, is now attracted by this exquisite model and listens seriously to Louis telling stories of the past. Gradually, they become inseparable partners, and Jamie even insists on sleeping with Louis at night. Louis not only takes good care of Jamie, but also lets this child, who lacks fatherly love, feel a long-lost warmth. But Louis knows that letting Jamie sleep with him is not a long-term solution, so he specifically takes him to a pet shop to choose a favorite pet dog. Jamie picks a brown shepherd dog and names it Bonnie. From then on, Bonnie sleeps with Jamie. Louis and Addie resume their life of talking all night long. But soon, the terror of passing time sounds the alarm for them again. That day, when Addie goes to deliver food to Ruth, she discovers that Ruth has passed away alone at home. At the funeral, Addie has mixed feelings and even feels waves of panic. She dares not imagine if she will also pass away alone in some unknown moment like Ruth. Louis sees through Addie's thoughts. To comfort Addie, he drives his old pickup truck and takes Addie and Jamie camping in the suburbs. They find an open, grassy field. Louis patiently plays baseball with Jamie while Addie prepares food on the side. After dinner, they sit around the campfire roasting marshmallows. At that moment, they are like a real family, with no worldly disturbances, only simple happiness. Laughter echoes in the valley and only gradually dissipates as night falls. Caught in a sweet dream, this outing is not only a relaxation of mood for them, but also brings their hearts closer. When they pack their luggage and return to the small town with joy, they find Gene has been waiting at the door for a long time. Seeing Louis with his mother, he seems unable to accept it. Seeing that he is not welcome, Louis awkwardly returns to his own home to avoid making things difficult for Addie. But Gene does not approve of his mother being with Louis, because during middle school, he also knew about Louis's affair. Such a man offers no sense of security, and he doesn't believe Louis can give his mother happiness. But in fact, after getting along during this time, Louis's thoughtfulness and tenderness have already deeply touched Addie. Although Gene doesn't look favorably on this twilight relationship, Addie firmly believes that her choice is not wrong. She knows better than anyone that it was Louis's tenderness and attentiveness that healed the loneliness in her heart for years. After Gene and Jamie leave, the empty room is no longer filled with the noise of the past, and a desolate life impacts the two elderly people again. Bored out of his mind, Louis suddenly proposes the idea of a trip. They arrive at a resort 200 kilometers away, but during check-in, the unsuspecting receptionist refers to them as husband and wife. This makes Addie feel incredibly happy, and she tacitly accepts this recognition. After the room is booked, Louis changes into a dashing suit. Addie puts on a champagne-colored evening gown. Although time has left traces of wrinkles on her face, her unique charm never fails to tug at Louis's heartstrings. They are like a couple who have been in love for years, enjoying the beauty brought by each other on the dance floor, accompanied by sweet songs. That night, they decide to break down the final barrier separating them and truly embrace the essence of romantic love. From then on, they immerse themselves in passionate love and cherish every moment of happiness that is hard to come by and fleeting. Louis becomes more composed, no longer fearing others' gossip, and openly admits his relationship with Addie. Seeing her father with a new partner, Louis's daughter Holly is also happy for them. She also wants to forget the past and travel around the world to clear her mind. But before that, Louis hopes his daughter finds a boyfriend to accompany her so someone can take care of her daily life. But Holly rejects her father's suggestion. Because her father's affair left a shadow on her, she still cannot believe in love to this day. But now she has begun to slowly let go and doesn't dwell on the past like before. Seeing the great harm he caused his daughter, Louis feels extremely guilty. But now, no amount of regretful words can make up for the mistakes made back then. He only hopes that his daughter can meet her true love in the future. But life is always full of accidents. A few weeks later, Louis goes to a neighboring town to deliver wooden boards for a friend. But when he comes back, he learns from a shop owner that Addie fell and injured her leg and is now in the hospital. Louis rushes over immediately, but Jean refuses him entry on the grounds that only family members can visit. Obviously, Jean hasn't accepted Louis. A few days later, Addie gradually recovers, and Louis thoughtfully picks her up to take her home. Seeing Louis's unswerving care, Addie feels extremely guilty. She knows Jean's wife probably won't come back, but she doesn't agree to Jean's invitation to move in because she doesn't want to leave Louis. They thought life could return to calm, but a phone call in the middle of the night breaks the peace again. Jamie's voice comes from the other end of the phone, crying. Louis hurriedly takes Addie over, only to see Jamie alone at home. The dark night makes him too scared to fall asleep. Just as she guessed, Jean and his wife have ended their relationship. The broken marriage shatters the whole family, and Jamie, with no one to take care of him, can only eat takeout every day. The messy room makes Addie feel incredibly sad. Suddenly, a loud bang comes from outside the door. When Addie steps outside to check on him, she finds that Jean is already completely drunk. When he sees Louis's car, he instantly understands the choice his mother made and immediately questions her.
You remember that night after the accident in the ambulance?
I remember the ambulance, of course.
Yeah?
Oh, God, Jean?
No, you remember or you don't?
Addie is stunned. She only then realizes that for so many years, Jean has been living in guilt and misunderstanding. It turns out that when Jean's sister died in a car accident back then, Jean always felt it was his fault. And Addie was immersed in the pain of losing her daughter, ignoring her care for Jean, which made Jean mistakenly think his mother was blaming him. No one speaks on the way back, but they both know clearly in their hearts that the reality before them forces them to choose to retreat. That night, Louis doesn't stay overnight at Addie's house, but returns alone to his empty room, looking lonely at the wooden bed that has been unused for a long time. After a night of deep consideration, Addie decides to move in with Jean to make up for what she owes him over these years, and also to take care of Jamie. But Louis doesn't want them to separate like this, so he proposes the idea of following Addie.
There's nothing for me here either. Eddie, you're where I want to be.
I can't take you with me, Louis. I can't.
After that day, they return to their respective lives. Addie is busy picking up and dropping off Jamie every day and occasionally accompanies Jean for a walk in the park. Laughter gradually increases in the house, and the harmonious life finally brings smiles to their faces. But Louis still lives a lonely and boring old-age life like before, except that unlike the past, there is someone in his heart to care about. That day, he goes to the town shop to buy a doorknob and learns the news that another partner passed away last night. The successive departures of his peers make Louis worry for himself. But before that happens, he doesn't want to leave any regrets, so he decides to give himself and Addie a chance. He mails Addie that train model set, along with a smartphone. Louis hopes that even if he and Addie cannot be together as promised, they can still hear each other's inner voices when they are lonely. From then on, Louis keeps his phone by his side every day, terrified of missing Addie's call. And Addie does not neglect her family because of this. She waits until Jamie falls asleep before dialing Louis's number, pouring out her longing to him. There are no passionate confessions or romantic dates, but this is the truest form of love in twilight years. They do not abandon their families or force the other to make a choice, only healing each other through mutual concern. Just as director Ritesh Batra said, this is a coming-of-age story. Growing up has never been just for the young. With Addie's company, Louis learns to face his past squarely and lets go of the guilt in his heart. In Louis's warmth, Addie walks out of the haze of loneliness and makes up for what she owes her son. Perhaps they cannot be together day and night in the end, but those nights spent together, those comforting words, and that concern hidden in their hearts have long become the light illuminating their twilight years. We always assume that loneliness is the base color of old age: empty rooms, cold meals, and no numbers to call in the address book. Just like Addie and Louis, who looked at each other from across the street for over 10 years in silence, until that direct invitation broke the isolation between them. Their story has no earth-shattering confessions, only bedtime chit-chat and clumsy care, yet it touches the softest part of everyone's heart. It turns out that no matter how old we are, what we crave is never an earth-shattering romance, but someone to accompany us through the long nights, someone who understands the loneliness hidden in our wrinkles, and someone who understands this gentleness of not abandoning family or forcing a choice between the two.